Hey, welcome to The Conversation. You're listening to Andy Mason, and this is authentic conversations around the messy intersection of faith, family, and business. And I'm just back from a workshop that I did with friends Blake and Linda Schellenberg of Co-Labor Ministries in Portland. So we had about 50 business leaders for a couple of days. Super fun. Unpacking how God sees your work, kingdom business activations, how to pray and prophesy, hear the voice of God and work, and then a whole heap of things around agreement and what stops experiencing heaven in your business. Anyway, if you want to experience more of that, join us in person. Jump onto heaveninbusiness.com/events, and you'll see where we're going to be next. And if nothing else, make sure you join us at our annual conference coming up end of February 2024. You can see that heaveninbusiness.com/events. And if you want to know what happens at these events, check out today's content. I'm going to introduce my wife, Janine Mason, who is going to share with you. This is actually a video clip that we recorded from this year's conference where she unpacks the cost of a dream. Now, you probably think that most dreams we see up front, we count the cost. Well, you may have never thought of the cost like this. This is all about the cost from a completely different perspective. Make sure you enjoy this.
So there's a real cost when your dream gets upgraded to God's dream. You know, instead of dealing with little permit issues, you're dealing with big permit issues. You're dealing with huge things. Instead of dealing with a team of 3, you're dealing with a team of 300 or 3,000, right? It's bigger and the cost is higher, right? So let's talk a little bit about the cost. Luke 14 says you don't start to build a house without first counting the cost. Otherwise, you get halfway through and you go, oh no, I can't finish it. And then it says, you know, your neighbors are laughing at you because you've got a half-built house and you can't finish it. It says you don't go to war without thinking about the guy that you're going up against and coming up with a plan. So before we kind of commit to this big dream that God has for you, it's good to count the cost. It's easy for Andy to stand up here and say, oh, you know, I wanted to be a shepherd, and then now here we are, and we're leading nations. He didn't share the stories of what it cost us to step from little New Zealand to America and be foreigners in this nation and follow the voice of God. It's amazing, and it's wonderful, and it's this joyous, wondrous journey, and we've got bruises and scars. And it cost us everything, and it will cost you everything to step into the dream that God has for you in your business. So I want to give you kind of 2 things to help you keep walking. When you walk out of here and you walk out of this amazing atmosphere, you're going to take it with you because it's inside of you. But when you get out there and you forget who you are in that moment, you need something to anchor you so you keep walking. So I'm going to give you 2 things. The first thing you should remember is that He paid for it all. His blood, His death, and His resurrection, it paid and it made the way for you to get through every wall that you face. If you can't see a way, then you're just not looking right. Maybe you need to turn from looking like Andy was talking about, looking at the problem, and just look at Him and see where His eye is leading you. So when you face the big things that you face, will you hold, figuratively at least, a communion cup in your hand and remember that He made a way? Would you hold also the communion cup in your hand, and will you remember that you're a dead person? You're only here because you died. You bought into that whole thing, that deal of, I surrender it all. I live the life I live in resurrection power only because I first died with Him. I went to Bible school a million years ago, and just a little evangelism school, 4 months in New Zealand. And there was this guy on staff, a young guy, and he would hear people complaining, and he'd say, is that complaining I hear? Oh, dead men don't scream. They don't complain. Andy has a friend that if he talks to him, he says, "Oh, Andy, it sounds like we need to have a funeral. Yours." I have communion cups in my closet, and most every day I take communion and I remember his absolute sacrifice to empower me to live fully alive. But every time I hold a communion cup, particularly in this season, I remember that I'm a dead person. I remember that it's like, Jesus, thank you for the absolute sacrifice, that you would love me enough to lay down your life. And in return, as I face the reality, how can I do anything but lay down my life in return? So when I want to complain, instead I try and remember I'm a dead person and that he did make a way through. I'm just not looking right if I haven't found it yet. So that's the first perspective I want to give you as you face the cost. The other perspective I want to give you as you face the cost is I want to tell you a story. We're going to tell a story of shopping. Men, do not disengage, okay? Because you might not like shopping, but unless your wife does all your shopping for you, or your significant other, or your mother, hopefully not gentlemen, you probably have had a similar experience. Now, I'm going to shop today. I'm going to talk about shopping for clothes. But if you really want to, you can kind of, bear with me. Bear with me. And I want you to imagine that you are going shopping for, now it's not just your dream, it's God's dream. And pretend that that new dream is a blazer. All right? Got it? You're shopping for a blazer, but the blazer represents God's dream. So you go into the store and you do the scan. No, not interested in t-shirts, not interested in bathing suits. I'm looking for blazers. Oh, this is the area for blazers. And then you do the scan and you're kind of looking like, yeah, I think I want, the government blazer because I'm called to government. Maybe you want the contracting blazer, so you pick one out. And you kind of glance, now if you're like me, you kind of look at the cost as the next thing, right? You look at the tag like, oh, kind of didn't want to pay that much. But it does look like it's going to be good. So maybe you take it to the fitting room and you put it on. Oh, I am liking this dream. I look good in this dream. My husband gonna think I look mighty fine. Those people at the church, they're going to think I look really good when I live God's dream. I think I like this dream. But there is that cost. And the cost may be that, like Andy said, you have to stop feeding on some of the things you're feeding on. The cost might be that you actually have to change some friendships that are unhealthy, that are unhealthy, but you can't, I'm just helping that person. Yeah, but that person is dragging you down. Every time you get around that person, it's like they just unplug your faith and maybe you need to start limiting the time with them. Maybe the dream means that you'll have to actually change the way you think about yourself. And you've done some work on you and you kind of look okay on the outside, but on the inside you know that there's all these self-limiting beliefs and you've kind of just let yourself, I've dealt with enough to do what I'm doing. It's okay. But to go to the next level, man, you're going to have to clean some of that crud out of you. It's a pretty high cost, but I do look mighty fine in this dream. Now, if you're like me, this is what you do. You take it off, you put it back on the hanger, and you go looking to see if there's a for sale, like a reduced, 50% off thing. that you missed. And you notice that in this store of dreams, there's no discounts. You check with the salesperson, like, is there any way that I can get a discount? Because I just don't know if I want to pay that much, even though I love it. You've all been through this kind of process with just a blazer or just a t-shirt or whatever you were going to buy. So you decide, actually, there's moments when you decide the cost is too high. I know it's a great dream, God, but the cost, wow, it's high. So sadly, you take the blazer off and you put it back on its hanger, and you're about to hang it back, and the tag flips, spins in the aircon, and you see that there's a cost on the other side as well. And the cost is the cost of a dream that you didn't pursue. And the cost this time is not so much about what you don't get to experience. The cost is about the people that you were called to serve. See, it's easy to say, I'm prepared to not wear the blazer. I'm prepared to not live the dream because I'm kind of happy with mine. And if I go a little bit more, I go halfway to God's dream, that's okay. But see, when you live fully and step fully into his dream, you affect nations. You affect your city. You affect the people around you. You affect the people you serve to a whole nother level. So when you say no to living God's dream, you're actually saying no to those people. You're actually saying no to the transformation that you're supposed to carry and release inside. See, when I look at that cost, that's a whole different way of looking at things. I start really close at home. I'm like, I have 4 kids. We have 4 kids. I share them with them. When they do something bad, especially. No, I'm joking. But see, I know that them, more than anyone else, they're watching me and they have big dreams. We literally have a son that wants to put people on Mars. He's at school for aerospace engineering. That's one of his dreams. One of our girls wants to be, am I allowed to say? She wants to end the sex slave trade. She's at university as well. And I know because their dreams are big that they're going to face big challenges, already are. And I know they're watching me and they're watching their dad to see how we handle things. See, they moved from New Zealand as well. They've been through it with us. We didn't isolate them. We prayed together as a family. Are we going to move to, well, they were little then. We are going to move to Reading, little people. When we moved from Reading to Pennsylvania, hey guys, this is what we feel the Lord is saying. So every bump, every challenge in that dream, they walked with us and they watched us. They prayed with us. See, I'm training those ones first. And I'm aware when I want to give up, that if I give up, I'm giving them permission to do so. Who's watching you? When I feel like it's too hard, I think of you guys. See, I know, I'm 100% convinced that there are breakthroughs waiting to happen in these next 3 days, like life-changing. I've been praying for life-changing encounters for you. Moments of revelation where something clicks, something you've maybe even been waiting for years, for decades, and you've been like, I just need this, and then in a moment. See, I'll do it for that. I'll push through the hard things. So who's your God dream meant to affect? You want to write down who are those people that are the ones that are going to be affected. Some of you are called to cities that are in just such an atrocious mess. Like hopelessness reigns in some of your cities. And when you want to give up, you want to, as it were, look in the eyes of the hopeless people on the streets of those cities. It's not just about you feeling good in your blazer. So take a moment, write down who are the people. Close your eyes. No, don't close your eyes. Well, close your eyes and think and then write. You're all looking at me like, I don't know what to do. I know this is kind of heavy for the first session. We're just getting started. We like to start off with the real punch in the gut. Holy Spirit, I thank you that you've called us to be carriers of your presence, carriers of your glory. We're your change agents in the earth. And as we come face to face again with the reality that you paid it all, that you laid it down, as we come face to face with the cost of us laying it down, God, I thank you that you're with us. Thank you that you have empowered us to do the things that you're calling us to do. I'm asking God for a revelation just of how much you love us, how committed you are. You're not going to kind of ignite us and tell us all these amazing things and then leave us hanging. But you'll go with us. I thank you for your goodness, God, that you've called us to affect cities and nations. The whole earth is crying out for the revelation of the sons and daughters of God, and we say, yes, we'll be the ones.
So I trust that you've been challenged and you see a completely different perspective of what the cost of a dream is. If you do not go through with this, there is a cost to all those around you that could have been affected, impacted, and certainly made better in regard to their life. Hey, make sure that you subscribe to this and join us on heavenandbusiness.com/free-trial. And we'll see you this week at our weekly live call.